Hi, I'm Sami Kosinski. I'm a production assistant with Disney Parks Live Entertainment, and I'm excited to talk to the Fantasy Playhouse Children's Theater and Academy about being a production assistant today. I guess we'll just hang out and see who else will join us today. Hello. I see Megan and Kirsten. Hi. And thank you, Megan, for setting this up. I'm excited to talk about what I do. I miss doing it since everything's quiet right now. But I'll just give everyone a few more minutes to log on. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it. Looks like we have a few more people joining in. So I will go ahead. Megan gave me some sample questions to go through until people start asking questions. But I'll start with talking about my journey with Disney. I have been with Disney for almost 8 years now, and I started as a college program student at Kilimanjaro Safaris over at Animal Kingdom. I started my school journey with hospitality because I knew that I wanted to work at Disney World, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And about 6 weeks into that program, I decided I needed to be put back into a theater. I did theater and music and dance growing up all the way through high school. And as soon as I got to school, I knew that I just missed it. And I thought that a stage management program was the best fit for me. So that is what I went to school for. I went to school for stage management, and then after I graduated, I came back to work down at Walt Disney World full time. And since then, I've done a few assignments with Disney Performing Arts, where I've gotten to work with students from all over the world who get to come in and perform at Walt Disney World and take workshops. I've worked on events with them like the Candlelight Processional over at Epcot for the Christmas season. I've been a duty coordinator for that team as well, and the festival, Epcot International Festival of the Arts as well, for jazz bands, local jazz bands getting to perform there too. And right after I finished up my seventh assignment with Disney Performing Arts, I started my role with Disney Parks Live Entertainment as a production assistant. And my home in that location was Disney Springs Resorts and Special Events. So I've gotten to open the NBA experience over at Disney Springs and the Christmas tree trail over there, as well as some special events locally, and I've sent events across the country, like Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, the local D23 events here in 2018, and a few press events. So I opened Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway this year, and both Star Wars events in 2019. So I got to open Galaxy's Edge in August, and then open Rise of the Resistance in December. So it's a little bit about what I've gotten to do at Disney. I see a question on here from Brooke. What's the best food at Walt Disney World? I am really partial to Mickey waffles. And I think the best waffles on property are at Sleepy Hollow at the Magic Kingdom. So you can get them stuffed with, if you want something savory, you can get chicken. If you want something sweet, you can get Nutella and fruit, bananas, strawberries, blueberries. That's a good question. I love talking about food. I could sit and talk about food at Disney World all day. My favorite Star Wars movie is probably it's probably A New Hope. I do love the first one. I think we just watched, actually, for Star Wars Day yesterday, we watched a whole special about the creation of the first movie, and I think it was just such a big part of a lot of people's lives, and I love hearing people talk about what they love. And I think Star Wars is one of those things that people are really passionate about, and that was the thing that started the whole saga and the whole phenomenon that is Star Wars. But Force Awakens does have a really special place in my heart because it was really the first movie that got me hooked on Star Wars too. I know, Renee, I want waffles too. My favorite role that I've done, that's really hard to choose between being a production assistant and I think working at Disney Performing Arts. I, in high school, got to do 2 different opportunities with Disney Performing Arts, or DPA. I got to do a workshop in high school, and I got to perform at the Magic Kingdom with my choir when we had a stage over there. And so for me, that role means a lot because I feel like I'm giving back to the kids that were me when I was their age. So to me, that's a really special role. But being a production assistant is to me, being part of Disney Parks Live Entertainment is what I have wanted for so long and what I've worked really hard for, to go to school for, and creating the live entertainment for our guests. And I've gotten to do some really cool things, especially with Star Wars. I've done a lot of cool Star Wars events, and we flew X-Wings this year, and getting to introduce Galaxy's Edge to fans at Star Wars Celebration last year, and getting to throw Mickey's 90th birthday party. Those experiences, those like once in a lifetime things that really mean a lot to our guests. It's the same. I mean, it's similar to why I love Disney Performing Arts, but getting to create those once in a lifetime moments for guests is special to me. So it's what I love and why I wanted to work there. Megan asks, working with live entertainment, I imagine you would have to be flexible to problems that arise on the fly. How do you deal with those? And do you have a specific example of a specific situation that you are proud of how you dealt with it? Yeah, we do. We do have a lot of problems that come up on the fly. I think my stage management background definitely helps me deal with that. It's one of the things that they tell you as a stage manager and as a cast member is if you're not panicking, no one else will panic. So I think just remembering to keep your cool is the first way to solve a problem. A specific example of a situation that I'm proud of. I'm trying to think, because I know we had, there's probably a ton, but I'm trying to not like reveal any Disney magic by sharing any specific things. Specific problem I'm proud of. Oh, so we had for the opening of Galaxy's Edge, we had some surprise guests that we were trying to keep quiet until the moment of the big event, and it was being live streamed, and trying to navigate if you've ever been in the land, there's not a lot of, it's a pretty one way in, one way out. So if you are trying to sneak in somewhere, it's hard to do it without, it's hard to sneak. And so when we were trying to hide our special guests, trying to come up with ways to divert the guests' attention away from that, that was a particularly fun moment with trying to convince guests, hey, look over here, there's something happening, when there's not actually anything happening. Yeah, that was one. If I think of another one, I'll come back. Hi, Kendra. But I'll come back to it if I can think of something better. That's not my best example, but I'll come back to that one. Chris asks, we have a lot of stage management technical industry students. What advice would you give to students looking to break into the industry and follow in your footsteps? I would definitely say take jobs that sound interesting to you. I think a lot of my friends that are working in professional theater outside of Disney, a lot of them took jobs that they may not have necessarily been interested in, but they wanted to do it just to get a contract somewhere. And so I think my friends that are the most successful out there applied to everything and then took jobs that were interesting to them, because the more interested you are in the work that you're doing, the more excited you are to do it, and the more likely you are to keep getting asked back. Because if you're having a good time and the people you're working with enjoy working with you, you're going to have a good time. I'm so sorry. The computer that's behind me just turned on, so I'm looking around. But yeah, that's the biggest piece of advice I can give, is enjoy what you're doing. And if you aren't enjoying it, then else to do, because I think for a lot of people that work in theater, we love what we do, and it's that passion that keeps us working in theater. So that's my advice: is apply for everything, and so that you have options to choose what you love to do, and explore other areas too. So like for me, when we were in undergrad, we had to take classes in all aspects of technical theater, not just stage management. And those classes taught me more. Like I used those classes more than I ever thought I would working as a production assistant, because it helps me be able to take notes. It helps me be able to have conversations with my peers and my partners in other technical areas when I'm trying to, as a production assistant at Disney, we are kind of the hub of all of the areas within live entertainment. And so we do a lot of communications with technical directors, lighting designers, audio designers, fight coordinators, costumers, characters. Like, we are the hub. And so knowing how to speak intelligently with all those different areas is something that is definitely a huge asset to me as a production assistant. So find the things that you're passionate about and learn everything. Don't be afraid to learn something new. Sandra asked, where can we find out more about Disney Performing Arts? Like, what opportunities exist there? If you're looking to bring a group down, I believe it's DisneyYouth.com. Let me just double check that. I don't want to lie to you. Yes, Disney.com. You can learn more about Disney Performing Arts opportunities, as well as youth education series programs, which is our non-arts youth programs. But Disney.com, for Disney Performing Arts in particular, there's performance opportunities for all kinds of groups, choirs, bands, orchestras, dance groups, and then there's workshops for all those different groups for color guards, marching bands. There's also Festival Disney, which is the competitive version of Disney Performing Arts. You still have the opportunity to take workshops while you're there, but you can also perform for competitions. And then at the end of that weekend, they do a big award ceremony with all groups that performed. Hi again, Kendra. Sandra also asked, when did you know you wanted to work in stage management production versus on the stage? So when I was getting ready to apply for colleges in my senior year of high school, I thought I wanted to keep performing. I had grown up performing. I knew nothing about technical performance or technical theater, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at Disney. I wasn't sure that I had what it takes to continue performing as a long-term career, but I just knew that I wanted to work at Disney. And the thought of going through a performance program wasn't super appealing to me. And so because I didn't know anything else about other opportunities that weren't either music education or music performance or performance, acting, musical theater, dance. That's why I just ended up in a hospitality program. When I first went to school, I went to the University of Illinois. So luckily, it's a very big school with a lot of opportunities to try different programs out. And when I was in the first 6 weeks of that hospitality program, I decided that I needed to be back in the theater, and I knew I didn't want to perform. But luckily, we had a strong theater program that had different opportunities. And as soon as I came in, I met with the advisors, and the next day I was shadowing a tech rehearsal for Cabaret. And as soon as I put that headset on backstage with the assistant stage managers, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So it was just an education for me. I didn't really know what the opportunities were until I just realized that I needed to be in a theater and I didn't want to perform. So for me, it was just about asking, what do these other roles do? And as soon as I saw stage management, I knew. Lauren, hi. You're part of the DCE program in New York City. Hi. some DPLE family. Working on events outside of Orlando, do you ever run into issues with portraying the magic or the integrity of Disney entertainment? Yes. So the only event that I've ever sent out that I have traveled with was Star Wars Celebration in Chicago last year, and thankfully we didn't have any characters on event. We did have some star talent on that one, and luckily that event, the whole idea was to peek behind the curtain of the Disney magic, so that was a nice event. But most of the other events that I've sent out, keeping the integrity of the characters is something that is a big conversation all the time. I send a lot of Star Wars characters out to do different events, and so those conversations are. It's not just a conversation of like keeping the Disney magic, but also the Star Wars magic too, which is it's layered. But we never send them, and I'm sure Lauren knows, working with DC and New York, the characters are never alone. So it's always a conversation of between the managers that there. DC is Disney character events, as Lauren said. So it's always a question of between them, like, is this right for the character? And then coming back to us in Orlando saying, hey, we're going to make this decision. Is it cool with everyone else? So it's always a conversation, and not just a, hey, we've done this thing. Hope it's okay. Oh, thank you, Megan, for sharing that link to Disney Youth Programs. Kristen asked, what's the hardest part of the job and hardest parts of the job, and what are the most rewarding? The hardest part is when I love being in a role where I can be in the office sometimes and then be out in the field sometimes. And the hardest part is definitely when I'm sitting in the office for long periods of time and we are getting ready to put on an event, or we're in a lull between events, and just not having that time to like actually get out and do something. That's definitely the hardest part, and keeping it, finding a way to keep interested in the work while I'm just sitting there doing mundane daily tasks. But the most rewarding is definitely getting out there and putting something in front of the guests. I think, like I mentioned earlier, the December event that we did for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the opening of Rise of Resistance, was definitely one of the most rewarding events that I've ever done, because it was getting that event on its feet was 6 years in the making for a lot of our Imagineering partners and our character partners. And then so to see a team come together is really rewarding, and see everyone work really hard for a singular goal. And then to not only do that and have that like internal reward of we've done this thing together and we spent a lot of time, blood, tears were shed, like we spent all this time to put this event together, but then to actually see the guests reacting to it. And like I said, the X-Wings, we flew real life X-Wings at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and getting to see the guests react to different things, or like Mickey's 90th birthday party was such a fun event to do, and we all worked really hard to put that event together, and then to see the guests actually enjoying it is so special. And that's why I wanted to work for Disney in the first place, and getting to share those moments that I've felt as a guest before with fresh eyes is awesome. Darcy asked, what was the process of applying to work for Disney on the technical side? How did that work, internship, etc.? So my process to applying for Disney Parks Live Entertainment in particular, I'm a part of the production assistant bench. And so we submit our resumes, they interview us just like any other job. And then once we pass the interview, they put us on a bench. And then once they have a job opening for us, they pull us off the bench, and then we are placed in our job. So for that, the interview process was a lot of like scenario type of questions, like how would you problem solve X, Y, or Z? How would you prioritize 1, 2, 3? And it was about, I applied a few times for that before I was put on the bench. And then the final time I applied, I was finally pulled off the bench pretty immediately. in 2018. So it wasn't, I don't want to say it's a super grueling process, but it's a very selective process. The Disney Performing Arts bench was a lot more intensive, I would say, because we had to go through a presentation, a spiel presentation, and an interview before we could get selected. So that was a little bit more intensive. As far as internships go with Disney Parks Live Entertainment, there are a ton of them. When I was graduating from college, I was not selected for that internship, but it didn't stop me from getting the job eventually. But we do have an intern every semester. We have someone new coming in, so that it is an internship opportunity that we do have. You would apply for it just like any other Disney internships. DisneyInterns.com typically has more information on all of our professional internships, management internships, and the Disney College program as well. But it is a really cool opportunity. Our intern this semester got to work on the press event with us, which is a pretty big event and an opportunity for an intern, so that was cool. Kendra asked, can you tell people how to get into things like DPA and DPLE if they want to work for Disney, specifically about having to be a CM first and having to audition and interview for your roles generally? So I think I answered that a little bit, but you do have to be a cast member first before you apply to be full-time for a temporary assignment in any of these areas. The internship with DPLE or Disney Parks Live Entertainment is the one that you don't necessarily have to be a cast member first, but you do have to have at least a junior or senior in college and be at least 6 months out of your degree, so somewhere in that window. But the process, you do need to be at least a full-time, part-time, or seasonal cast member to apply for those first. And like I said, there's an interview and an audition, and then an interview for Disney Performing Arts, and then Disney Parks Live Entertainment. I just did an interview to be put on the bench. Oh, and now I see Kendra Darcy asked first. Yes. Are there any other questions that I can ask, or I can talk? Does anyone want to hear more about Disney Performing Arts or Disney Parks Live Entertainment, or more about stage management in the parks? No? Okay. But thank you for joining today. Oh, do you have a dream position at Disney? I would love to be stage manager at Disney or outside of Disney. I do miss calling shows. I think that's a big part of stage management that I don't get to do here at Disney. And so I think I would love to call shows either at Disney or even outside of Disney. That's something that I definitely miss doing. And so currently that would be I would consider that a dream position right now. And Sandra asked, how did you pick your college? I went to the University of Illinois, and like I said, I started as a hospitality or a tourism management major. And so I only applied to 3 schools, and I was applying for hospitality tourism programs. So I just ended up staying in state. The other 2 schools I applied for were out of state, and that in the end was what kept me at the University of Illinois. And I am really thankful that I stayed there because it is a good theater program. And I don't know if I would have had the same opportunity and the same path even to get me back toward that I would have if I'd gone to the other 2 schools I applied to. Kristen asked, what are some of the major differences between being a production assistant for live shows and film TV? I will say that just the title production assistant at Disney means something totally different than it does outside of Disney, whether it's film or theater. Because in most situations, like even when I was going to school, the general thought of being a PA was, okay, you're going to get coffee, you're going to make copies, you're going to do a lot of the grunt work that that stage managers don't want to do, which is totally the opposite of what I do at Disney. I barely even have time to make my own coffee most days. So it's more of a coordinator type of role where like I said earlier, the PAs are kind of the hub of the production team where we gather all of the information and then distribute it to everyone. I haven't done a lot of film and TV, so I actually haven't done any. I don't know why I said that. I haven't done any film or TV, so I can't really speak to that. But as far as Disney versus live theater outside of Disney, those are really the biggest differences. Lauren asked, what is the typical workday for you like? So with entertainment, it's a 9 to 5 office job unless you're in an event. So typically I'll come in the morning, catch up on whatever emails came in overnight. And then I will have a couple of meetings throughout the day where I'll go in and I'll take notes. And then I'll come back to my desk, edit the notes, and we get them ready to distribute to everyone. I'll spend a few minutes here and there scheduling different meetings that come up. If we are getting ready for an event, I could be doing things like requesting talent, communicating with talent, getting them a day in the life, a schedule, creating a production schedule for the entire team. On events where I'm sending things out of state, I could be booking flights for people, booking hotels at Walt Disney World or elsewhere, booking rental cars. There's a wide variety of things I could be doing. So no 2 days really look the same, but the typical things that you can expect in a day are checking your email a lot, replying to a lot of emails, scheduling meetings, and attending meetings. Darcy asked, what are the pros and cons about living in Orlando? I always say that if Disney weren't in Florida, I probably wouldn't live here. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, so honestly, the weather in Florida is not anything that I prefer to be in, but living in Orlando, there's a lot to do here, so I'm never bored. Just at Walt Disney World alone, there's so much to do, and right down the street, Megan says traffic. Yeah, I-4 is never fun to be on at any point in the day. It's pretty funny how empty it is now driving on the Turnpike or I-4 right now because there's no one out on the roads really. But yeah, the weather is something that's definitely a con for me, and the traffic for sure. I'm very lucky that I live really close to Disney property, so I don't spend a lot of time on my commute to work, which is nice. But yeah, there's a lot to do here between the parks. If you are super into theme parks, whether you like Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens is right up the street. There's tons of theme parks to visit. We do have a lot of good theater come through here. We have a pretty strong community theater community down here, so you can find everything from small community theaters to bigger community theaters. So that's always nice. And we have the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts, which always has the national touring productions for your big Broadway productions. We saw Aladdin here earlier this year. Mean Girls is here. I saw Anastasia last year. There's always a ton of stuff coming through here, which is nice. Well, thank you, Darcy, for tuning in too. But I had fun. I like talking about what I do. But if no one has any more questions, I think now is probably a good time to sign off. Thank you, Brooke. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to come in and talk a little bit more about what I do here at Disney. If you do have questions about working or Disney Performing Arts programs, like I said, the DIS programs website is a great place to start. But thank you so much for having me, and have a great day. Bye. Thank you.